Terrorists go home! Terrorists go home! Terrorists go home!
I wanted to honor my ancestors today, sir. They need to know that what they fought for wasn't slavery or oppression of people.
Where were they and where are they?
Thank you, sir.
This flag is back there.
When?
You're doing what you asked.
Can't walk out of the park by yourself, huh? So proud and brave.
You want another day like Saturday, don't you? You should be ashamed of yourself.
That blood is on your hands.
No.
I want to start by saying that I didn't expect Unite the Right to be a success, and I think anyone reasonable would agree with me that it was not. Before I say anything else, it cannot be stressed enough that the Unite the Right organizers obtained proper permits and authorizations to hold their event. In fact, when the city of Charlottesville attempted to revoke these permits, the matter was taken to court and upheld by a federal judge. It doesn't get much clearer than that. Unite the Right were fully within their legal rights to peaceably assemble. No one can dispute this, and the collective penchant for following the legal procedure was reflected in the torchlit marching on the first night. My first video on this channel detailed the heightening political tensions in the United States, with specific reference to the domestic terrorist attack at the Republican congressional baseball practice, and the ongoing climate of fear stoked by progressives, academics, and the legacy media apparatus. But then came Saturday, the 12th of August, 2017, and with it came the opposition and confirmation of the worst of my predictions. With the arrival of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, tensions quickly rose, and in keeping with the pattern we've seen for the better part of the previous 2 years, we saw escalation. For the most part, Unite the Right marchers do not appear to have been the ones instigating the violence. The event was peaceful and lawful until the left-wing opposition showed up, unpermitted, to cause a disruption, and the police appear to have enabled them through their own actions. The appearance of Antifa counter-protesters served as a pretext, an excuse, for the Charlottesville police and the Virginia State Police to broadly declare the event an unlawful assembly.
We are a peaceful protest. This is a peaceful permit. This is a peaceful demonstration. Think about it.
Declared to be an unlawful assembly.
We will defend your right to police thieves, to police actual criminals.
You will be arrested.
You can't be arrested, go. You can't be arrested, go now.
Go.
Guys, if you are not prepared to be arrested, go home now. I'm not moving. I'm not moving. I will not attack you. I will not fight back, but I'm not moving. I will not attack you. I will not resist, but I'm not moving.
No, we're not.
I'm not moving, sir.
Pax Dickinson, a key figure of the event, took to Twitter to recount the removal of Unite the Right from Lee Park. His account was suspended by the time of this recording, but luckily archives are still available. According to him, the perimeter of Lee Park had been cordoned off and the interior of the park was safe until the police ordered the event-goers to disperse. Quoting Pax, "This is Lee Park in Charlottesville as it was laid out for yesterday's rally. Barricades are marked with red lines. Virginia State Police control the north side of the park. There are 2 pens for Unite the Right rally participants with VSP between them. VSP also control both 1st Street and 2nd Street, north of Market Street. National Guard has men shooting video from the funeral home roof. Antifa control Market Street. Rally speakers arrived via Market Street from the east and were put in Pen 1, then moved through the barricade to Pen 2. South end of the park is a small hill. The exits are stairways. There are shield walls set up atop both, and Antifa are attacking them. Skirmishing like above at both exits is happening, but the pens themselves seem to be totally safe from Antifa. We're able to relax and socialize. Shortly after all speakers are present in Pen 2, where the audio equipment is, word spreads that a state of emergency has been declared. From inside Pen 2, this seems unnecessary and preemptive. It's only about 11:30 a.m., and the rally doesn't even officially start until noon. Finally, Virginia State Police gets on a loudspeaker and announces that we've been declared an unlawful assembly and orders the park park cleared. An announcement is made that we will be arrested if we do not vacate the park. Attendees start to leave via the exits and are attacked. After consultation, some people, including Richard Spencer, Nathan D'Amigo, and I, decide to perform civil disobedience and be arrested. I originally thought Baked Alaska was there too, but apparently not. He was very badly bear-maced on the way in. We tell our security teams to leave and avoid arrest as VSP forms a shield wall at the north end of Pen 2. When the pen is nearly empty, VSP shield wall starts advancing south. We link arms and stand our ground, and the shields push us back. We tell them we aren't leaving. We say we'll peacefully allow ourselves to be arrested without resisting, but we won't leave willingly. We link arms and hold our ground for a few minutes. Some of us get knocked down and helped back up, but we're not giving up much ground. After a few minutes of pushing and zero response to our demands to be arrested, VSP pepper sprays our line and it crumbles. We retreat through the west barricade, but VSP on First Street won't let us on the street and forces us to retreat south along the park perimeter. We're forced through a gap in the barrier at the south end of First Street onto Market Street, which is lined on both sides with Antifa. We run west on Market. Two people are helping Spencer, who I think cannot see after being pepper sprayed. Sal and I are running close behind. Antifa from both sides start throwing sticks, rocks, and bottles at Spencer, so Sal and I drop back a bit to stay out of the line of fire. We get past the Antifa to the Preston Avenue intersection, where a defensive shield wall has been set up and wounded are being tended. There are a lot of people really hurting from either Antifa or police pepper spray and several badly bleeding head injuries. So that's the scenario. Given what I've explained, it's clear VSP had explicit orders to drive us into the Antifa so we'd be assaulted. All rally participants could have easily been removed through the barricades to the north, away from the Antifa. VSP chose otherwise. So if any of this is true, it would lead me to believe that this was completely avoidable.
The full-on demonstration! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit! Holy shit!
Now, I don't want to jump to conclusions. If, when all is said and done, it turns out that the suspect's car had been attacked by leftist protesters and he drove off in a panic, it wouldn't be the least bit surprising. We can see from the footage that the car has dents and cracks in it, suggesting it had been struck before we even get a look at it. And we can even see that someone with a blunt object strikes the car before the final acceleration into the vehicles ahead of it. On top of all this, there doesn't appear to be any police presence on this block, no crowd control whatsoever. The situation appears to have been left to fester, with Unite the Right attendees forced out onto streets filled with hostile opposition. However, it doesn't change the fact that the suspect deliberately struck those vehicles. Ultimately, it doesn't look good, and regardless of what is true or not, this is going to be blamed on Unite the Right. The driver has already been convicted in the court of public opinion. The aforementioned Unite the Right court ruling sets yet another legal precedent established by the alt-right, and with any luck, the apparent negligence of the police will lead to even more legal victories. If anyone was illegally assembled, it was the left-wing counter-protesters, certainly not Unite the Right marchers. And as I've stated so many times before, it's clear that the renormalization of political violence in the United States has originated almost entirely from the left wing. The events we witnessed on Saturday are exactly what the left wanted, and now they will act as though it was the right calling for this to happen all along. So to any constitutionalists, classical liberals, or any other stripe of free speech activists who have seized the opportunity to describe the alt-right and Antifa as mirror images, you are being willfully dishonest at best. Some of these classical liberal types have even chosen to do this while simultaneously conceding that the alt-right has valid concerns.
You've really got to think about the root causes of this. I mean, I appreciate that the alt-right is angry, and I can actually understand why they're angry as well. And I'm angry at the same people for different reasons. America was a white majority country, and it's people who are obsessed with mass immigration from the third world who are turning it into a non-white majority country, and that is something that's really happening. The numbers are academic at this point. This is not a controversial thing to say. But just a few reasons why Charlottesville happened. White people are going to go extinct. I can't wait for white people to finally die out and go extinct. Can white people please go extinct? Sorry, Anna, do you even know how white you look? I hope white people go extinct. I mean, do you not think that there are people seeing this and thinking, well, okay, there is a coordinated attack on white people? Because it looks like it. I mean, listen to what these demonstrators are chanting. What are you going to tell them? They're not anti-white. You're going to tell them that the people cheering for the white majority and the people saying, I hope white people go extinct, are you going to tell them that they're not anti-white? Because I mean, I think that would make you a liar, wouldn't it? It's going to come to the point where they're just accepting. They're going, yeah, we're racist. Because let's be honest, you guys are racist against white people. You know, there's no getting around it. These are just the mirror image of you.
You can ideologically disagree with Unite the Right all you like. It does not change the fact that alt-right demonstrators have never caused millions of dollars in property damage, and certainly haven't made a habit of showing up to events organized by ideological opponents in search of a fight. These activities are standard practice for leftist demonstrators, and your disagreement certainly cannot erase the motivations of the alt-right, especially if you don't have a viable solution of your own to the anti-white problem. You cannot acknowledge the existence of a valid root cause while also claiming that those concerns are as baseless as those of their opponents. Now, all of this being said, optics matter. They matter more than almost anything else, and unfortunately, the legacy media and police have no interest in being charitable to identitarians and nationalists. Coverage of this event makes no mention of the anti-fascist, anarchist, communist, or Black Lives Matter labels. They're nothing but counter-protesters, according to journalists. But the media have certainly made plenty of use of the white supremacist and neo-Nazi labels. In fact, the spin has already kicked in so strongly that the Illinois State Senate has already passed a measure seeking to treat so-called white supremacists and neo-Nazis as domestic terrorists. The event is already being used in an abusive way, despite every effort by the organizers to obey the law. I couldn't exactly put it into words before, but my apprehension on Unite the Right was vindicated by the now observable facts of the situation. This entire event seems to have been destined to play out the way it did, because the event was conducted on the opposition's terms. Unite the Right organizers followed all the rules, obeyed all the laws, and were still declared an unlawful assembly and apparently forced into contact with those who showed up looking for confrontation. This has led me to believe that it may not even be worth it to hold public events, because those with an interest in sabotaging and misrepresenting such events hold all the cards. And while it doesn't appear to have been very much of the Unite the Right crowd, there were a few people who made it easy as pie for reporters to do this. Look, I get it. We're the kind of people who don't accept what we're fed by the mainstream. We don't accept the cut and dry Saturday morning cartoon stylization of history. We know that there are things which aren't discussed in honest ways. I understand all of that. But when you show up to a real-world event as a public representative of a political viewpoint or movement, you are doing that movement absolutely zero favors by throwing Sieg Heils and waving swastika flags. The simple fact of the matter is that the average person's brain immediately shuts down when they see this kind of imagery. They no longer care what you're actually about or what you have to say. All they see is a dumb Nazi who wants to kill all the black people. I know there are some listeners who might not want to hear this, but it really is that simple. Maybe it's not fair, but whether it's fair or not is not really important here. The legacy media and the left want you to be this easy, bite-sized cartoon character, this Hollywood portrayal of a neo-Nazi. You're not just hurting the message, you're guaranteeing that the message is not being heard, because all they need is one picture like that. And while you might say that we don't know who these people are, that they could be controlled opposition or agitators or something like that, sure, that's a possibility. But one way or the other, they do not belong at the event. And I'm not talking about opinions. I'm not talking about viewpoints or ideas here. I am referring entirely to perception. When I said I wanted to see real-world activism, this kind of thing was not what I had in mind. Let's remind ourselves of the main point I made in The Cold Civil War Heats Up. It's not as simple as no bad tactics, only bad targets. If the goal is for our message to be heard and for legal victories to be won, then we shouldn't waste our time with anything that doesn't achieve that. There is such a thing as a bad tactic, an ineffective tactic.
Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? You had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. In the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.